Cony Bennett, Tony Bennett.
And I guess first of all, what are some of the topics you're going to touch on here in your speech?
Well, I think what we're going to talk about is the fact that the concept of putting students first is not a tagline. It's not a marketing ploy. It's a filter we should run every decision we make in education through. Be that whether we are talking about providing students robust choices, to pursue an education that meets their 21st century needs, making sure there is an effective teacher in every classroom, to holding everyone accountable for the results of our education system. So I think that is going to be what you're going to hear all day today, that this is not a marketing ploy, this is not a political slogan, this is a filter we should run every decision through in education.
And our governor has repeatedly said that we have just far too many superintendents and we spend too much money on administration. Is that something, and you guys he quotes you guys as the type of state that's doing it right. Is that something that you also believe in?
Well, first of all, I think there's very little question that the most important thing we have to do is drive dollars to the classroom. That our expenditures should really be filtered through the fact that we are putting students first, so that our fiscal policies match our education policies at the state level and at the local level. So I think it's the right discussion to have, and frankly, being a proponent of school letter grades, I think we should have fiscal letter grades that make sure that the investment taxpayers make in school districts is an investment that drives academic achievement.
Tony, you're a very appropriate keynote person for this conference because you in Indiana did many of the things that Governor LePage is in the process of trying to do here. I just wonder, is there any advice you'd have for the governor based on the fact that when you were there, you worked with Mitch Daniels, a Republican governor, you had a Republican legislature. Governor LePage is in a little different situation here now. Can he still pursue some of these challenging reforms? And what advice would you have for him to do so?
Well, first, I think it's a great question, because I think the most challenging aspect of driving this agenda is making sure that the agenda resonates with everyone. What we learned was our agenda resonated with our most disadvantaged communities. They understood we were trying to give their children something they had been lacking. But where our message didn't resonate was really with the middle class, because they didn't believe there was anything wrong with their schools. They didn't see the urgency that we should have to act with to improve education from top to bottom. So I guess the takeaway I took from Indiana was we must develop a message that resonates with every class of citizen, with every school, that every child matters, regardless of if they're at the lowest end of the socioeconomic ladder or at the uppermost end of the socioeconomic ladder.
Do you believe vouchers are the way of the future?
Well, I'm a strong school choice guy, and I think my record speaks for itself on where I stand on vouchers. I think it's a social justice issue. Secretary Duncan talks about education reform being a social justice issue, and we talk about vouchers being the ability to integrate competition into the system. It's also the ability to integrate social justice into the system. And let me give a brief explanation why I say that. If I come to Maine, I'm going to choose where I live. I'm going to choose where my children go to school. And the simple reason is because I can afford to. Shouldn't a poor, minority, single mother have that same right? Shouldn't she be able to choose where her children go to school based on the quality of education they get? So while you will hear me talk about competition, you're also going to hear me talk about social justice, because that resonates and people believe that all families deserve that right.
And critics of your line of thinking and the governor accuse you guys of being anti-public education. What was your reaction to that?
Well, first, I have a daughter that teaches in public schools in Indiana. She teaches in a Title I public school, and I think the last thing I'd ever want on my headstone is I tried to kill public education. My wife's a public school educator. I came from public education and supported a voucher program while I was a public school superintendent. So this is not about being anti-public education. This is about, let's go back to the filter. This is not about perpetuating a system. This is about perpetuating a generation that will lead our country, lead our states in the future. So we have to put students first. It's not about anti-public education. It's about pro-child.